The World Health Organization has published a new guideline that is looking at the role of sweeteners in weight loss. The guideline basically says that it is not recommended to use sugar replacement artificial sweeteners in order to aid weight loss because there's no clear evidence to suggest that it is useful in helping people lose weight. Is this really the case? And actually, if we aren't using sweeteners, then what should we do? That's what we're going to look at. Let's jump in. Is it really a surprise that actually sugar replacements like artificial sweeteners don't actually lead to weight loss in medical studies? And there's a good reason for this. Now, I don't know what the average sweetener consumption would be in the UK, but I think it's safe to say that the bulk of them are being consumed in teas, coffees, soft drinks, and occasionally as a sugar replacement when people are baking. How many soft drinks do people drink a day? How many teas and coffees might they have? That's going to be individual. But you know, I think we could safely say that it's going to be 1, 2, maybe up to 4 a day maximum. There's going to be people that operate at the extreme ends of that scale, and I do meet patients and clients that, you know, are tea fiends and they'll have up to 16 cups a day, but that's really at the extreme, and there'll be other people that have 1 or 2. So let's just say an average of 5, shall we? If we can agree on that, that's a good starting point. And in fairness, that's probably excessive as well for most people. So how many calories is in one sugar that you would usually put in your tea, and how many calories is actually, say, in a can of Coke? Well, if you're using a typical teaspoon, that's about 5 grams. So there's not a huge amount of calories in that. In fact, when we look at a label, and I'll try and pull one up here, we can see 1 teaspoon is actually about 16 calories. So let's say even if you were having 5 cups of tea, coffee a day, over the course of a day, that's going to equate to 16, 32, 64, 90. Now, a lot of people are going to be having a lot less than that. So, you know, if you're having 1 or 2 drinks a day, that's only going to be 30 odd calories a day that you saved. Now, I know, there's the old sort of stories that you might hear from nutritionists and healthcare professionals where they said, if you save this many calories a day, and it's usually a very small number, you'll lose this much weight over the course of your life, and vice versa. If you just eat 2 digestive biscuits a day, that'll actually lead to X amount of weight gain over a number of years. And it's usually some huge number. What this fails to incorporate though, is what the rest of your diet is looking like. Now let's say you've replaced a sugary drink for a non-sugary drink, so one that uses sweeteners. Now that can be a bit more of a significant saving. So the average can of Coke, 330 mils, is about 140 calories compared to a Diet Coke, which is 0. But again, it depends on how often you would do that, how many you'd have, and therefore how many calories are you actually saving over the course of time. And let's not forget, this also ignores what the overall diet is looking like. So let's just try and keep it really simple, shall we? We all know people that have sweeteners over sugar. And what they've usually done, for the vast majority of people, is they've done the bare minimum change that they can do that in theory is good for them. So they're trying to lower their blood sugars, so they're cutting out the sugar. They're trying to lose weight, so they're going from calories to no calories. But for the vast majority of people, they've just done that. They haven't really made any overwhelming sweeping changes to their overall diet and lifestyle. They haven't suddenly started exercising, they haven't addressed their portions, they haven't looked at the vegetable intake and fruit intake, their overall fiber intake. It is literally the bare minimum. So when we're sort of scraping the barrel for those little calorie savings, yes, they can accumulate and add up over time if you do enough of them and are consistent with them. But on the, the fact remains that if you're just having a couple of cups of tea a day and you've gone from sugar to sweetener, you're probably not going to see significant weight changes by doing that. So whenever I see studies like this, it's kind of stating the obvious, to be honest. Now, there is a wider question, of course, about whether or not sweeteners are good for us. And there is emerging evidence that actually they're probably not. And again, I don't think you really need to be a scientist, a rocket scientist, a nutritionist to come to that conclusion. Yes, there is a lack of evidence to show us whether or not these are things that we should be having. But all the risks that are potentially emerging gradually with regards to sweeteners and our health, like cardiovascular disease, sugar causes the exact same outcomes. So, I mean, I'm not by any means endorsing having sweeteners. Obviously, the best thing to do is not have any of it. No sugar, no sweeteners, and just stick to water, really. I mean, from a fundamental naturalistic point of view, that's what we should be drinking. That was what was available to us for most of time. And it's only recently we got a bit more creative, added a bit of flavor, mixed it up a bit. But I guess what I try to do and what I like to do is just relax a little bit about it all. Like, you know, don't operate at the extreme ends of things. Let's not scrutinize and delve in and discuss every single finding like it's some significant major breakthrough. We already know these things, particularly people that are working in practice, working with patients in healthcare. Like, this is not new information. Like, we're aware of it. Now, obviously, it's good to spread the public knowledge and increase awareness, but I don't really want my patients worrying, like losing their minds because they might have one sweetener a day in their tea over sugar. To be honest, they'd probably be all right with the sugar if the rest of their diet's pretty good. Obviously, if they already have a high sugar intake or the diet's not good elsewhere, then these things are going to add to that. From a diabetes perspective, because I am the diabetes diet guy, there's also lots of comments I see online that say that sweeteners affect glucose levels. Let me tell you, I look at a lot of glucose levels, thousands in fact, and I can tell you categorically, when you see the data, you can see that actually sweeteners will not affect your blood glucose levels as much as sugar. Does that mean you shouldn't have either, or one's better than the other? Not necessarily, because it's more holistic than that. So it's about the overall diet, your overall lifestyle. So I just wanted to make that video, guys, just to kind of like, you know, just relax and breathe a bit. But actually it's no surprise for me anyway, that that's the finding from this study. Now, if obviously all we ate was sweeteners or sugar and that was the entirety of our diet and you went from calories to no calories, then you'd probably start seeing some significant weight loss. But as it stands, it's probably a small proportion of our diet that this is reflecting. But we will wait to see what more evidence comes because it is an emerging field. And so, like all healthcare professionals, I will be guided by the evidence. I'm not making this stuff up. It's all based on what's published, what's clinically relevant, and also our own experiences in practice. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you later.